people. I think people always thought your website was like one and done and that's it. I think that's like a mindset that people got used to, whereas like now everything's changing all the time and your digital marketing strategy is changing monthly. So we were just finding that that was bringing us personally a lot of results for our company. So we are just really crafting that to help other businesses too.
In just a few moments, you're going to hear from Lysa Miller, who runs her own agency. She knows marketing, and we dive into all of that. She has been featured in Business Insider as well as MSN Money. You can find her all over the web, and we have a lot of fun on this interview, so stay tuned in just a few moments for the next episode. Well, hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Finally Marketing That Works podcast. I'm here with another new friend, guys. This is Lysa over in beautiful Massachusetts. Lysa, how are you today?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Hello from hot Massachusetts. It's like 100 degrees here right now.
Holy moly. Well, I'm actually filming in my parents' basement at the moment. We're up in Alaska visiting them. And so it's a little chilly. I think it's in the low 60s right now. It's kind of chilly
Wow.
this morning, but 100 degrees. I've never been to Massachusetts. I've wanted to go to Boston because everybody just says you got to go to Boston. So how close are you to the good old Boston?
30 minutes, basically. So if you ever want to come to town, we have lots of room here.
All right. Thank you. And I know
Always happy to host my around the world podcast friends.
I love it. I love it. And I have to always ask this because I'm a huge sports fan. So does this mean you're a Patriots fan and some of the different teams around there, or what's your favorite team?
Yeah, so I'm definitely a fan of all teams, the Bruins, the Patriots, Red Sox. And then we like to cheer for Holy Cross football. My boyfriend's family's all alumni of there, and his dad's Hall of Famer for football. So we're big football fans over here.
Very good. And when you lost Tom Brady, how did it feel?
You know what? I just go wherever Tom goes. So,
Honorary Bucks fan.
always be number one.
That guy's incredible. I don't know how he can.
Like Wayne Gretzky, man. Like that guy's number one. He'll always be number one.
Yeah,
It is what it is.
I was never really a huge Tom Brady fan, obviously because he was always winning, and I was a Chicago Bears fan, and we just couldn't figure out the quarterback position. So I was pretty excited. I was going for him in the Super Bowl with the Bucs. Going, that's just incredible legacy that he's.
Isn't it incredible what he's done? Just,
unbelievable.
Everyone's like, it's the team, and I mean that's true, it's a team, but he's a true leader.
Yeah,
he's a true leader. There's nothing else you can say.
I could talk sports. I should just start a sports podcast. That would be fun. But I know today we're going to talk marketing. We're going to, talk. I know you have so much experience and so many nuggets that you can share with everyone. So before we kind of dive into all that, I'd love for you to share just a little bit of your background and kind of your synopsis of a story for Lysa.
Okay, well, I immigrated to the United States, so I'm not American. I'm actually Canadian. That's why I'm so nice. But I came here to work for a small agency in Portland, Maine, back in the late 90s, and then moved to Boston to work for CBS Interactive. So I got some really great web experience at a very early time in my life, which is awesome. So then when I decided to have kids, corporate America wasn't the best place for me anymore. It was just too hard, like commuting in a big city and daycare, so I just decided to freelance. So luckily I had a book of clients already that I'd been building on the side. And I freelanced under that business, LadyBugz, for about 10 years before, just kind of, to make money, a salary, but to actually really grow it as a business, I really started to grow it around 2013, 2014. And I really grew it based on brand building and social media. And SEO. So those were kind of like the three foundations of really my agency and what we did. In 2015, I merged that with another agency, so I put LadyBugz on hiatus for about 4 years, went to work at another agency for 4 years as a part owner, too, of that business, and I learned a ton there, and just after the 4 years decided I wanted to rebirth LadyBugz again for like lots of reasons. I think we all have these dreams of like what we want to do and where we want to go, and I'm sort of one of those early growth people. I really enjoy early growth. So for me, it was like doing the early growth thing again was super fun. And the opportunities right now around COVID, with so many women leaving the workplace, the corporate workplace, I wanted to really take that side of things, being a woman-owned business, and really run with that.
Good for you.
And I mean, that's a really quick synopsis. Obviously, there's been lots of things along the way. I was on the cover of the Boston Business Journal's 2020 book of lists,
Wow.
which was super cool and gave me a lot of recognition. And I think you kind of need something like that too when you're a woman-owned business, especially in technology, because I think in general, it's a very male-dominated field. So coming in as a woman, like I think you just really need those credentials. And again, that was the other reason for going to another agency for 4 years and just, learning about bigger things that I didn't yet know about. So taking all that back to my small agency was definitely a really great experience. And the highlight kind of my career is that being on the cover of that magazine. I mean, it's kind of like being the cover of the Rolling Stone for a rock star,
Well,
so yeah.
that's incredible. I mean, I haven't been on the cover of a magazine like that, so you got me beat already with that.
Yeah.
When you talk about this agency world that you're in, what kind of, obviously marketing's so vast, they do so many things, and a lot of these huge agencies do like commercials and radio ads and
Mhm.
placements. Did you guys kind of were you a full service agency, or what did you guys kind of niche down and focus on?
So LadyBugz 2.0, what we call it, we pretty much do digital marketing and digital brand building. So it's basically, we're very, very strong on the web side, like web design, web development, because we believe that those are the foundations for everything else. And then that drives into more of our digital growth business, which is, we do a lot of continuous web improvements for conversion optimization. Like that's really, really important part of our digital marketing strategies is that, yeah, we're doing all the marketing, but we're always improving the customer experience as we're doing it. So it becomes a very agile process. And then we tend to have like those people cross over on all teams. So somebody who might have been the designer on your website is also part of the marketing team too. So we're always going through this kind of cohesive design, development, marketing process. So those are the services that we offer. We don't offer any print services or commercials or anything. Like we're purely a digital agency based around digital growth. So, and again, like kind of building our reputation on that side of web design and development, really supporting and really, pushing your marketing forward. I think it's a new concept for people. I think people always thought your website was like one and done and that's it. I think that's like a mindset that people got used to, whereas like now everything's changing all the time and your digital marketing strategy is changing monthly. So we were just finding that that was bringing us personally a lot of results for our company. So we are just really crafting that to help other businesses too. But again, it's a mindset that you're selling. It's not really as much of a product. It's like, okay, well, this is a process and we're always going to be going back and forth in it and you need to be committed to it. So that's basically how we operate.
Very good. And I know you had mentioned before our call that you guys you really love brand development and talking specifically kind of about that. I would love to dive into that because that's something we don't specifically offer at my company, Slater Strategies. I would rather if somebody's really wanting like big time branding for like the logo and letterhead, all that. I know there's more to that, more to it than that, but I'll try and usually outsource into somebody else because that's just not our specialty. So let's dive into that a little bit. Tell me a little bit about, what is brand development to you and how do you help companies with that?
Yeah, I mean, so typically, we have kind of two sides of clients. We have a lot of B2B companies that come in early growth stage, so they already have all that. So they're really just going from, let's say they're going from being a startup to maybe their first round of funding or their second. So we'll come in. So we don't really do brand design for those people or the original branding, but we do have people come in starting out where they'll work with us on everything from their message to their logo to their story to like just everything, their whole concept. So we kind of work on both sides. If it was like a larger company, we wouldn't do that. We would, like you said, bring in a partner. So we're very niche and boutique. Basically, what we're trying to do is offer those really high-end services that you would get from a bigger agency, like what you're talking about, one that would do everything, and kind of like make it a little leaner and give people kind of that same experience in a boutique setting. And so, obviously price drives a lot of that. So instead of us being, 6 figures or more for a project, we're 5 figures. So that really makes a big difference in giving people access to really, really incredible professional services, because if you don't have that budget, you can't go get all that stuff that you want. So we basically formed the company based on that price niche and people wanting that level of service and having that kind of a budget. And how do we make that happen in the price that we're offering? So that's kind of our niche. So, so we kind of offer it on both sides. So we offer it from like, starting out, and then, if you want to do it in the middle, we'll do it. But typically, the brand starts with, designing it obviously in the beginning. But what we do a lot of is developing the brand. That's basically, I call it brand building, and some other B2B marketers call it brand building. But it's really your digital marketing strategy, your PR, your messaging, and then how you create that platform for your business and how you implement that. So
So,
that's really, we're big into that.
okay. And so if somebody was to come in and they say, hey, I only have this much money, and you only had to focus on maybe one or two of those to start, what would you say is the most important of a brand strategy or brand development for a company, just maybe starting out or trying to get their ducks in a row?
I mean, I think it always starts with your mission, your message, and your visual look. So those are like the three foundations that you need. You can't do a website without any of that. You can't, start building a social media strategy with any of that. So whether or not you have somebody like us do it, or you do it, or you work with another agency to do it, that is definitely the foundation of like where you need to start. And then, so the second step to me is always, if you're going to do next to product, is your website, because that is basically where everybody's going to go. They're going to find all your information, and that can just drive all of your other marketing. So first your logo, your message, your brand. Second, your website.
Okay. Have you had those people come in? I'm sure you've had them where they go, you say, hey, you really need this logo and this website, and they're like, oh, my logo and website are fantastic. I did them myself, or my sister did them or whatever, and I think they're really good. And you're like, oh boy, and you have to try and break the news that it might be good in your eyes, but not in the world, how the world sees it. Have you had plenty of those in your career?
Yeah, so we have that. We just had that happen recently with a startup, and it's a product, and it was like her son's friend that did it, and then they hired a company to do the website, and it was just basically, it wasn't even really a great place to start, but the logo was already developed, so we call that like a brand evolution. Because where they were already developed the product and they already had the logo on it. So basically, we kind of like redesigned the logo a little bit, just enough that it was still completely, palatable. You look, okay, it's the same. It's a little cohesive. And then we obviously are building out a new website and all that stuff. So that's what we do for those people. And if they're just really not open to it, I don't think they typically come to us. If somebody had their son do it, typically those people don't have a budget to really come to us, so we don't see that a ton, but we do see it a little bit.
What
You would
I
maybe
always
more
say,
see that in a business where they were doing smaller websites for smaller companies. We're really doing, we're doing stuff for mid-size, early growth biotechs, manufacturers, so we don't see that as much, but we do see it sometimes.
okay. And I will say one of the things that fascinates me the most about the brand side of things that you're talking about is how these huge companies, I mean, more so like corporate America stuff, is hey, they've picked certain colors because certain colors will resonate with a certain person on the tendency to do something. I remember hearing, this might be false, but I remember always hearing McDonald's picked red and yellow because it was supposed to signify fast in people's heads and make them want to not stay in the store long. Like they wanted them to kind of eat and then go, because it's, I guess, supposed to make that those color combos are supposed to make you feel uncomfortable after a few minutes. I don't know if that's true. That's just what I've always heard, and that stuff is so fascinating. I don't know that world, which is why obviously people like you
Yeah.
are really good at it. Did you have any like?
Honestly, I'm not the brand expert either. I'm the brand builder. So, the people on my team are the brand experts. They are the ones that build those, original assets and come up with the messaging. So that's actually not my expertise. My expertise personally is growing it. So taking that brand and growing that brand. So, I can ask my experts what they think too, but that's just my experience from working with them. And the word evolution, we've used that a lot because a lot of people come to us with assets, and so they have already like started something, and so rather than telling them it's terrible and it's not working, we just tell them it's an evolution. And I think the way that you speak to customers and how you explain things to them and how you position what you say is really important, because the people you work with are smart. They came up with these ideas, and we can't all be experts at everything. So they're hiring you to come in and be an expert. So like, how do you do that without hurting someone's feelings? So it's a great way. If, for example, we had somebody who just came in with a corporate website and they've been working on it for a couple years, and 2 years is a short amount of time to do a redesign, but to do an evolution, so kind of having the same website but just evolving it to be more modern and ADA compliant and all those things, they're able to swallow that, and they get that, and they get when you tell them they have to start over. That's not, and because you're not starting over, they've built a foundation, they've gotten the brand to a certain level, and you're just going to take it and you're going to evolve it. So that's a word we've been using a lot. And again, it's all about how you phrase things and how you look at it and how you view it, rather than saying something has been unsuccessful for the last couple of years. Like if they're like, oh, my website's not doing anything, that's not true. You've been learning for 2 years. You've been learning about your customers. You're learning about what you want. And you didn't spend $100,000 learning. You spent a little, you bootstrapped it a little. So it's just the way it is,
And in your career now that you've been doing this, I'm sure you've seen many crazy marketing successes of something that's happened, and also probably some flops in the years of going, well, we tried this for ourselves or we tried this for a client, and man, it just didn't work for whatever reason. I'd love if you're open to it, sharing some of these crazy successes, what you guys did, and then some of the flops and what happened.
I mean, I personally haven't experienced any crazy growth or any crazy flops. So, any kind of success or failure we've seen, it's been slow. So, I mean, I think that taking big risks, like, that you don't know how they're going to end up, is when you're an agency, you kind of can't do that. You can do it for yourself, but you can't really do it for your clients because they're paying you to be successful, not fail. So I haven't personally seen a ton of that, but, there's definitely strategies that I feel like work better than others, and it depends on the client, because some strategies work great for some clients and some strategies don't. So it more depends on the client than the strategy. For example, an email blast or an email strategy works really, really great for products, for e-commerce. It doesn't work as well like for us. It might keep us at top of mind, but really for us, social works really, really well. And so, but maybe for a product, social doesn't work as well, but for most products it does. But it really depends. So I would just say, like, just not trying anything too crazy, and just being, mindful about how crazy you want to be. I think people tend to be more crazy with their own brands versus agencies being crazy with other people's brands or even their own. But I know there's lots of people that have dabbled in TikTok and have had really great success from that. One of our other agency partners, who's a sales coach, she, had a great following on social, but then she got on TikTok and it exploded, so it just really, really depends. And I can't, warn anybody on anything that really fails either, other than Google Ads. Because if you hire the wrong Google Ads agency, I feel like that's one of the biggest losses in marketing that you can do, because it's so expensive. So it's just, if you're going to spend a lot of money on certain things, you need to really, really do your due diligence. Because again, Google Ads can work for some companies and it doesn't work for some other companies. So if an agency doesn't think something's going to work, and this is the difference about the client guiding the relationship or the agency, when people come into us and they say to me, I want to do this and I want to do that, it's like, how do you know that's going to work? You're hiring us to find out if that works. So if they're like, I really, really want to do Google Ads, and we just say, okay, we'll do Google Ads, well, how do we even know that's the right strategy for them without even doing the due diligence on the account? So I think as an agency, you have to say no to people, and you kind of have to put them in their place if whether you're going to work together. Somebody who wants to lead the process isn't a good client really for an agency, because the agency is really the expert and they're more valuable on the business side. So really getting to know their business and bringing that business like into the digital strategy, that's where the client is really, really useful.
and we even have that a phrase on our website. We say, you know, we've got a few sentences in our paragraph, and they say, "Are we a good? Let's see if we're a good fit, or are we a good fit?" Because I don't want to just take on everybody either. Because
Mhm.
then, one, I don't want to. If I'm not just going to chase the dollar and go, "Oh, I'm going to quick $1,000 or whatever I can make on
Mhm.
this one or whatever," and then fail at it because that's just my reputation, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, we'll interview, make sure it's a good fit. They trust our process and what we want to do, and otherwise we just don't say, hey, it's not a good fit. Here's some other companies. Go check them out and give it a shot. Because yeah, I totally agree with you on that. If they're calling the shots when they come in, it's already like a red flags popping up everywhere. This is gonna
Yeah.
be a fun
And
client.
I've definitely had those. I've had those at all my agencies I've been at. So, those red flags, sometimes you take a chance and you're like, maybe it's going to work, and sometimes it doesn't. So, like, what do you do when it doesn't work? Like, what do you do when it doesn't work?
Oh boy, when it doesn't work,
How do you deal with that?
I have to apologize a lot. And then honestly, so when I have had
As if
failures,
you didn't do
because
anything wrong.
yeah, and that's the thing. So okay, I remember that we've discussed and go, this is what they want, and I go, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Here's what we're gonna do, and it hasn't worked before. What I've done is typically is, hey, if it flopped, I will try and give them something in return, like back. Go, hey, we'd like to give you, a free web, depending on what it is, of course, like a free
Mhm.
page on your website designer, free web, something back, because I feel bad that something didn't work because it's the person's hard-earned
Right.
money. But marketing is also kind of there's a lot of unknown to it where you're kind of putting it out there and saying, hey, let's see if it works, and it's a gamble sometimes, sometimes not. So that's what I've had to do in the past when we have had things that just didn't work like I thought they would or wanted them to, or
Mhm.
client wasn't happy. Have you done something similar to that if you've had any things that didn't work?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when things start not working, you can see the signs. So I think that you have to come up with a plan of like how you're going to get rid of that client without, you're not getting rid of them, but you need to find something that's going to fit them better. So typically, what I try to do is find them a better solution first before I, say okay, or even before we say mutually okay. Um, and obviously, always give them back their money or whatever it is, right? But yeah, so I try to make sure that I have another success plan for them, I guess, because I think there is an agency for everybody. And just as an example, we had a client where we had a big team and we were doing tons of stuff, and it was almost like too much coordination for them. Like they had to do quite a bit on their end because we're a team, we were doing so much, and I just don't think they were ready for that.
Hmm.
They weren't ready for like how much of a commitment it was, how much stuff they would have to approve. And so basically we came up with a plan for them to use like one person, like a freelancer, take a lot of the foundation we built and then have the freelancer kind of work through it. So, yeah, you accept that, okay, that client's going to go with a freelancer, but honestly, that's all they could really handle. So, if it had been, and it was the owner of the business, and this is like a big difference I see is like the owner of the business versus a dedicated marketing person is a whole different experience because the marketing person has time. They have time to be involved, they have time to, the entrepreneur typically doesn't. And that, again, like when you're picking clients, one of my first signs is like, how busy are they? Do they miss meetings? Do they, um, do they do what you tell them to do during the week that you're supposed to meet again? And so, like to me, that how busy somebody is a true warning sign of like if they're going to be a good fit or not. There's like done for you, and we do it with you. Those are like the two kind of agencies out there, right?
Yeah.
And there are agencies where you're like, I just want this done, and that's that. With our agency, we're a done with you agency, and we tell all of our clients that it's going to take time. We have different packages and different plans that we have for people, and so some of those plans require a lot of content, like signing off on content to make sure it's okay before we ever post it on blogs and social media and stuff like that. And so we do a lot of that in the first 2 months with a client. So they are busy approving content, signing things off. And so like people aren't invested in that, they're not a good fit for us because we really take a plan and then we just run with it once we are done that because we've gotten all the approvals. So us as an agency, we have to be more, let clients know that a little bit more in the sales process. And that was kind of like something we learned in that experience. And, that other experience ended great. We're like, let's have lunch next week, like whatever, because you just learn as you go. Everybody's learning. We're learning, the client's learning. So
And I've had those experiences. I had one client, it was probably 2 years ago now, where we were asking, we needed their feedback on the content we made for the website, for the social posts we created, and there was one other thing, and they're like, they were really upset. They're like, we're hiring you to do this. Why are you asking for my approval? And I was like, we talked about this on our onboarding call. Like, we're not just gonna just post these social posts as we get started. What if you suddenly don't like this post and talk about your whatever? And so they were so upset that we are asking, because like, I hired you to do this, and it's like, oh yeah. So then I kind of go back and go, did I explain this good enough? I guess when we had our onboarding call, because I was trying to make sure we're doing everything on our side to prepare them for success. And I thought we had, but we figured it out and everything was fine. But I was like, you're
Get
gonna
it?
want this, trust me.
The worst thing is website content, because like, getting people's website content from them is like, what that's like.
Plenty.
So, and again, like just trying to figure that out in the beginning. If they don't have content, what does getting content for them look like? Like, so basically, like one thing we're really trying to do is post-mortem, like what could happen, and almost like before going into the relationship, covering all of our bases. Okay, if the client, almost like a conditional programming language, if client does this, then this. If client can't do this, then that. And kind of coming up with those pre-mortemed bad or good, situations in the sales call. So then okay, well, you're not going to have content, so how are you going to get us content if you don't have content? What does that look like? Maybe that's a content plan. Maybe that's hiring an outside writer. So a lot of those things we're trying to like kind of what could happen after bad, like kind of pre-think about those things, what could go wrong, what could go right, and bake that into like our process better. And again, that's just from like working in this industry for like 20 years. I started designing websites at the beginning of my career, and here I am at the tail end of my career, hopefully, and I'm going to go out with a bang. And so hopefully, I've learned enough to really just to try to minimize those pain points, not just for us, but for the client, because it's so frustrating even when you're the client, like, how am I going to get this? Where am I going to get the resources? So helping them plan is hugely important to how successful they are.
Man, and if you were to give, as we kind of slowly wrap it up for today, is if you were to give, and it's on the spot, I know, 1 to 3 like nuggets or takeaways for somebody who's tuning in today, whether they're wherever they're at with their business, maybe they are like, shoot, I don't have a good logo, or I don't have whatever it is. But if you were to give 1 to 3 takeaways or nuggets today, what would those be?
So if I was starting all over again, I was going to start, actually, I did just start all over again. So this is what I did. So the first thing I would really do is just brand yourself at the expert that you are. I mean, people buy your services or your companies or your products for the unique value that they offer. So that's you. Like, it might not be personal, but whatever your creative piece is into that, whether somebody uses your agency or my agency or buys this product or that product, the difference is how it's unique. And so you can do that by building kind of like your own personal brand and labeling yourself and promoting yourself as an expert in this area. So that can kind of differentiate you. So once you kind of build yourself, you can start to build your business kind of like off yourself. So you can kind of intermix those two things. So once you start promoting your business, you can start doing like thought leadership for your business. You can start, positioning yourself in certain areas of certain industries to kind of give yourself that credibility. So that credibility is just so important. So building your personal credibility, building your business's credibility, I think those are really, really important. And then having the products and the services to back up, what you're saying. So, making sure you have a great website, making sure you have a great product, making sure you have great services, making sure your clients are 150% happy. So that, I think those are the 3 core things having really a great business.
Well, perfect. Well, Lysa, thank you so much. Again, you've had so many successes, I feel like, in your career, and you can just go start another agency right off the bat and be successful. That's incredible in and of itself. So I wish you nothing but the best as you continue your career, and hopefully you can retire here soon there in Massachusetts.
Yeah, 5-year plan.
Perfect. You got shorter than mine, so I got a little ways to go. But wish you nothing but the best. Thank you so much for your time today on the podcast, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Well, as I usually say, I hope you got something from today's episode. Lysa and I talked a lot of things marketing, and it can be overwhelming. Okay, I'll be honest with you, but you could always listen to it again or Google her and find these articles that are about her from Business Insider, MSN Money, and beyond. There's lots to read up, and she has a lot of knowledge and a lot of expertise to share. We'll be here next week with another awesome guest on the Finally Marketing That Works podcast. We'll see you then.